were there specific instances where you really had to rethink maybe some of the operational parts within the company, and what were they? If you can give us even maybe one example.
Sure. So we adopted a new framework, and this is a great example is thinking of reimagining or revisiting who is the customer, right? Customer first. That's the thing for us at UPS. It's customer first. But then taking it a step further and saying, who is the customer? And traditionally, the customer, when you think about a package moving from A to B, the customer is at A, right? The person that tenders us the package. But let's just for a minute, think about the healthcare market and what happened with the vaccines and all the medical equipment that needed to get to wear the PPE and everything, right? So our customer is now multifaceted. When a package goes from A to B, we have to not think about one customer that's going to be impacted by UPS, but by multiple customers. So who shipped the package? Who's receiving the package? How does the patient going to feel? How is the medical vendor going to feel? How is the doctor that's going to implement it if that package is damaged or if it's late? All the different customers or potential customers that could be impacted, they all need to have a great customer experience. So rethinking who is your ultimate customer. It's not just that one individual that we thought about traditionally, it is multiple individuals. And if anybody within that flow chain becomes to be uncomfortable with the process or the experience that they feel, that could disrupt or even tarnish your entire reputation. So we had to think about that. And that's last, having a new thought and then training, right? Everybody within the company to think about that, to consider that. And so in our healthcare segment, we have a thing that says it's not a package, it's a patient, right? So who's receiving that medicine? Who's getting that shot? Who's getting that new heart? Who's getting these different tools? What are they going to feel? And what happens if it's delayed? Who's going to be impacted? So that's just one example of reimagining or rethinking how you do business.
Fantastic. Thanks, Michelle. What about you, Luis? I know the liquor sales overall sort of skyrocketed and overall across, I think that was the common trend, but any specific changes that you experienced in the industry?
Yeah, there were a ton that we went through, all the way from, shifting production to making hand sanitizer and putting that onto the market. But I think in general, you break it down into create and partner. The biggest initiatives really were around bringing our experiences digitally to our consumers where they were. So things like virtual tastings for groups of employees as happy hours, a virtual tour of the distillery since you couldn't come visit in person. We had a virtual digital version that we made available so you could continue to tour online. Online mixology classes, one of our locations decided to help people learn how to make cocktails. So things like that, bringing that engagement to the consumer. But we didn't stop there, because I think it was important to close the loop, which is now you have to go partner. So with the likes of a Drizzly or an Instacart or a Reserve Bar. Mm-hmm. So once you have the ability for someone to learn how to make the drink, they've engaged, they have an event, we also want to make sure that they have a mechanism to be able to purchase. So digital shelf, product content, enhanced content, all became really important in our overall mission of making sure product is easily visible to consumers and then also easily purchasable. And again, this is one of those scenarios in the new landscape where traditionally we would not have leaned as heavily on spending brand dollars to help impact some of the retail chains, but with the changes in legislation, we were able to make sure that we could pivot and ensure that we had to pull through into the channel through the right distribution mechanisms.
Fantastic, thank you. Christine, Aaron, any?
Yeah, it was interesting because we had sort of a whole suite of new products ready to launch, but the factory in Europe that was going to be launching them, that was just about to start manufacturing, got completely decimated by COVID early on, to the degree that they shut down, and I still don't think they're fully reopened. So it kind of threw our whole innovation process out the door. and forced us to restart entirely. And some of the stuff that they were making for us was kind of proprietary and patented. And I mean, so we really kind of threw out the entire playbook, started from scratch. I took over new product development. We hired a new agency to start creating new designs, had to find new factories in countries that weren't as impacted, which ironically at that point in time was China, and then Southern Europe, and really had to pivot our entire new product process and start over from scratch. So, you know, I think that was a pretty dramatic change to our innovation agenda. And then the other thing was just we really had to innovate along the supply chain. We had relied on air freight in the past. That was pretty much out the door. We had relied on fast ships. At some point, fast ships used to be almost the same price for us. That changed dramatically over the course of COVID. So the supply chain innovation was pretty dramatic as well.
Fantastic. Christine, anything to add?
Yeah, I would just say that for us, it's both the pandemic and then coming out of the pandemic has been another innovation process, just in terms of scaling up and scaling down. So initially with the pandemic, we had to scale down a lot of our employees as our business was taking a huge hit. And so, a lot of people went on furlough. Now we're in this position of scaling everything back up. And now that we're facing this pent up demand, now we're hitting those same issues that others were hitting during the pandemic, who are seeing the spikes. Now we're seeing the spikes as people are going back out into the world again and having those challenges of maintaining our inventory, keeping things in stock, forecasting. So we've really had to change our approach to things so that we can scale up with this pent-up demand. And what that means is not only bringing people back and onboarded, but also reevaluating a lot of the processes that we have internally. And in order to scale, we're really looking to bring in outside partners. So we've been rapidly increasing some of the partners or the technology that we have in-house, rather than just relying on manpower, so that we can manage this beneficial increase for our business right now.